Welcome to the 5G Podcast.
We're glad you're here.
We hope you enjoy our conversations about God, guns, games, goals, and gastronomy.
Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode.
Sponsored by Nintendo.
Sponsored by Red Bull.
Red Bull.
The winter edition. Pear cinnamon. Cinnamon pear? Pear cinnamon.
Pear cinnamon.
Spontaneous review. We've both had I've had a decent amount.
We both had what? Sips?
I wonder how it would taste if it was heated.
Like a
spice cider. Because it tastes like a spice cider.
That's a review. It's a pear cider.
It's quite good.
And as you said, it doesn't taste like Red Bull. It doesn't taste chemical-y.
No, it doesn't, which is kind of nice.
Chemical-ish.
Kind of nice, actually.
Yeah.
I'm when I first tasted it, I was like, maybe not. But I like it. I like it. I definitely like it. Anyway.
I'm just drinking Mountain Dew.
It's sponsored.
Classic. I've been busy this weekend, back in a gaming kick, so I gotta chug my gamer fuel. You see, my wife, she bugged me because she's like, all you do is play Hearthstone and go to bed early.
You're like, yes, this makes me happy.
I come home from work tired, I eat food, and then I go to sleep. That's about it. But now I've been playing World of Warcraft. Again. You see, this is World of Warcraft Classic plus some extra. So 4 years ago, they already released World of Warcraft Classic, which was the game in its original state re-released. Now they re-released it again, plus some extra stuff. They call it the Season of Discovery, which, let me tell you, has been hilarious because the gist is that they added new things. So it's nostalgia plus some extra like surprises. And so all the memes around like discovering has been kind of funny because people will be in the chat like, whoa, what is this new thing? How do I do this? And then everyone's like, why don't you go discover it? Like it's the idea that these days everyone just wants like everything told to them. I just want to Google it, which fair point, convenient. But the whole point of playing this version of World of Warcraft is it's a new adventure, like the game was 20 years ago when people didn't know anything about the game. Now we like the World of Warcraft community has it all memorized. You can speed run it, but now there's new stuff to discover.
Yeah.
It's been pretty fun, actually. Of like, especially me playing with my older brothers and their friends. Like, it's nostalgia for us. We know everything, so when we see something new, we're like, "Whoa, that's weird!" Like what? And it seems so out of place. So just like, there's not supposed to be a nest of dinosaur eggs here. That's weird. And so maybe it's not like for your class though. Like some of the things to discover are related to your individual class. So you're just like, you make a mental note of like, there's a pile of dinosaur eggs there. I'll come back to that later. There's one I saw.
You mark it on the map or something?
You just in your head, really. There was one I passed when I was playing like a mage at first, and I passed just like a dead corpse on the ground. I was like, it's kind of weird. But not like a player, just like in the game. And so I showed up back there on a priest, and I actually had to like resurrect the guy, and then I got a cool new spell. They're like, I discovered that. It's been fun.
That's pretty cool.
Past weekend, yeah. It's all I could think about at work yesterday because they dropped on a Thursday.
Oh, they just dropped like 2 days ago.
They released, on Thursday. So I played probably later than I should have.
Why did they release on the 30th of the month instead of on the 1st of the month?
I don't know. It was a global release, so I think it was on the
like midnight of like 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday on the 1st in like England or something like that.
Yeah, that could be. It was like in the afternoon for us, so
yeah, that would be pretty close to.
I think so.
I think they're 8 hours ahead of us.
Yeah.
So that would be only 10 p.m. though.
I don't know.
Who knows?
That's all I could think about at work on Friday. I was just like, I gotta go play some more. But it's been pretty fun. So
very good.
That's for good week for gamers because World of Warcraft again.
That's what they should have called it. Instead of the Season of Discovery, they should have called it World of Warcraft again.
You liked nostalgia the first time. Here it is again.
So. Very cool. Mm-hmm. Well, you made the joke earlier that we're turning into an article review podcast. Because I don't have only one article this time. I have two articles to talk about. Wanted to get your opinion on them.
Sure.
Not the first one's not really actually like an article necessarily. It's not like, what do we think about the points of this?
Oh, yeah,
it's
insightful.
It's more of like a larger question about your thoughts on cryptocurrencies and NFTs,
the non-fungibles.
Because I read an article talking about for lack of to make it simple, a hedge fund.
Okay.
That is selling their own token.
Interesting.
As a way to invest into their fund, and it's backed on a
stock.
Well, so the fund partnered with this blockchain itself, like similar to like a Bitcoin or Ethereum chain called Avalanche.
Okay,
and they're like more, from what I can understand, Avalanche as a token or as a blockchain is more focused towards development than it is like a store of value or like contractual stuff like blockchain and Ethereum.
So there's at least,
or excuse me, Bitcoin and Ethereum are
some value to it as opposed to just made up nonsense.
And so this company decided to partner with this blockchain producer Avalanche to create a token on the Avalanche chain that is similar to like a stock, like holding stock in a company, except you can buy individual you buy these tokens instead of like a share of stock.
Yeah.
And so because of that, you don't technically have ownership in the companies that they're investing in.
Yeah.
Because they are themselves a hedge fund. And so it's a way for them to gain capital and then deploy that capital into other companies. But they don't have to necessarily give you the benefits of it. They're using this token as a way to hedge themselves against, because the tokens are going to gain like a specific amount of interest per year.
Yeah.
So they are an asset technically.
Yes.
And they are registered with the SEC.
It is money.
It is an asset. But it's only going to gain a certain percentage each year. It's just a way for you to invest in this hedge fund without the hedge fund having to distribute all of its earnings and make it. It also makes it available to non-accredited investors.
Okay.
And accredited investors and non-accredited investors are the two categories of people in the country where there are certain stipulations you have to meet to be an accredited investor, and then everyone else is a non-accredited investor. And the Securities and Exchange Commission, they define these two groups of people.
Yeah.
And depending on the type of hedge fund or financial services industry that you're in, you're allowed to advertise to one or two of these two groups, right? So if you're a certain type of hedge fund, you can only have people who are already accredited investors invest into your hedge fund, and there's actually a little bit less oversight for your hedge fund specifically, and you're allowed to make riskier plays because the Securities and Exchange Commission's thought, theoretically, right, is that these people already have enough money that they understand how it works.
Yeah.
Right? It's like
they already know what they're buying into.
Exactly. So if they invest into something, who cares, right? Like if it makes them more money, great, we get to tax them. If they lose money, they have enough of it already, right? That's kind of like the thought process, right? Non-accredited investors, which is like me and you.
Yeah, normal people.
There's more regulations with what you're allowed to make hedge funds for. They still allow for like crazy ideas, but there's a lot more protection behind it, right?
Sure.
Where they regulate those securities or those hedge funds a lot more closely. They have rules on who you can and can't advertise to, how you can advertise, how you can get investors, things like that.
Interesting. So essentially the article and what you're saying, this company they found a loophole more or less.
It's not a loophole,
but you said the SEC is like, they're okay with it.
Yeah. They signed off on it.
They did everything above the book.
Yep.
But it lets people like me and you invest into this hedge fund when otherwise we couldn't.
That's theoretically. Yeah, that's kind of what I understood from the article that I read.
And that's what I'm taking away is like I'm a normal guy. I understand the stock market and the hedge funds and cryptos a little bit. So yeah, I mean that seems kind of interesting because normally like when you buy into a hedge fund, there's a bit more of a risk, I guess. Does the crypto still incur a risk to the average person, even though you said you're not getting like ownership of the company? You're just getting a guarantee that whatever they invest with.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, because it adds like an extra step.
It adds an extra step, which is strange. But there's reasons that it's kind of cool, and reasons why I'm like, meh.
What are some other benefits to like me and you, as opposed to just going and finding a hedge fund for non-accredited investors?
One is the accessibility, because it is a transferable token that's easily it's liquid.
It's
liquid. It's not, most hedge funds require you to invest. Like if I go to a hedge fund today, right? They have, so ready? Here's how hedge funds work with Steven.
I'm ready.
Kind of try to break this down as simple as
possible. Hedge funds for dummies. Enlighten me.
Funds have a goal to make money, right?
For everybody.
For all of the investors of that fund.
Mm-hmm.
The way they do that is by actively taking a role in some sort of in one of the aspects of business, whether that is providing debt for people and then getting that debt paid off at an interest rate, which is how they make money for their investors, or investing into companies that will theoretically grow, and then when they exit those companies,
sell off.
When they sell, or when the company has their IPO and gets onto the stock market, their shares theoretically have increased. They return that value to the shareholders.
Gotcha.
Those growth companies, funds, generally have timelines that are many, many years.
Yeah.
So it's not like I can invest in one today and then say 4 months from now, oh, you know what? I had a family emergency. I need to cash out my, $20,000 or whatever it is. You can't. It's locked in for 10 years. And
they have a lot of money they're managing. It's all moving around.
Correct.
They've tracked your 10,000 and it goes into their calculation.
Exactly.
Well.
Yeah. And most of the time, especially in these growth funds, that 10, 20, 100, 300 million, whatever you have invested, has been spent.
Yeah, probably.
Like if they've invested into a company that's growing, if they've invested $20 million into this company, that $20 million is meant to be spent to help that company grow more.
The company's already spent it on whatever.
In exchange for ownership percentage in that company.
Yeah, is the normal way.
And so that's one of the benefits of this tokenization of this hedge fund, is that I spend $20 to buy 20 of their coins. I don't know what their coin price is, but we're using $1, right? If I go, so I have invested $20 into 20 of these tokens that will theoretically pay me a certain percentage per year on my investment. I can hold those for as long as I want.
Yeah.
Or I can go onto one of the token crypto exchanges and sell my token for face value if I just need the face value back.
He's like, hey, I need the money.
And theoretically, I've received at least a few distributions, depending on how long I've held this token. And so getting my money back is not a big deal because I've received the interest rate on it already. And someone else will now buy that token off of me and then start receiving my benefits.
Interesting. That's pretty painless as a consumer. Like,
it's very painless.
It's crypto.
It's an easier version of a bond.
Yeah.
Kind of. But yeah.
But it's still the same principle. Yeah, the hedge fund, like, again, the SEC already did all the regulations or whatever. The hedge fund can do whatever they want with your money, invest in other companies, and they just have to guarantee your certain growth on the.
They don't even have to guarantee it.
They don't have to guarantee it. Okay.
No, because of how hedge funds work, they don't have to guarantee anything.
So there's still fluidity of the market.
There is still fluidity. There is still fluctuations, and you might not make anything on it. But
there's still risk, but. But it's and you don't get a portion of the company if you care about that. But
it also allows for third parties. Let's see. fourth parties, other potential investors. For example, if I had bought $100 in these tokens, right, and I've held them for 2 years, and it's paying me 10% a year, right?
Okay.
So I've made $20 so far. If I need cash right now, this instant, I can go to you, let's say, as a potential buyer and say, look, these tokens are worth at a 10% valuation, at a 10% a year valuation, are worth $1 a pop. I bought them for $100. They pay me $10 a year, right? I need the cash to do something else right this instant.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to give them to you. I'm willing to sell because I've already made $20. If I sold them to you for $80, I'm breaking even.
Yeah, right.
Over the period of time, not really because I've lost money due to inflation. Technically.
Yeah,
but numerically, my money has stayed the exact same, right? So if I sold them to you for $95, now I'm still up 7% each year,
and you're getting
and now
a deal.
you're going to get a great deal, and I'm getting $95 out of you, which I need that money, right?
Yeah.
And now you, instead of making only 10% a year, are making 12.5% a year.
Seems pretty good. Seems pretty nifty.
And so that would be a reason for you to sell them or to buy them, is because if I go to you and say, like, hey, look, I bought these for $1 a pop, I'm going to sell them to you for 98 cents a pop.
Yeah, why not?
I've held them for a year and they've paid me 10 cents each. So now I've made my money. You're going to make yours. And now I get my capital back without having to,
Yeah. And it, as you're saying, it's more liquid. It's tradable. It seems pretty cool. I guess that seems positive for the future.
So in general, this honestly,
what's the future outlook?
I've thought quite a bit about the crypto sphere as well as like NFTs and things like that.
Yeah.
I think NFTs are the most useless garbage on the planet.
Right.
The idea behind them is interesting-ish, but it's video game skins. People just don't understand this, that Valve has been doing this for 20 years. Like,
cosmetics.
Yeah, it really is. And obviously those markets are huge.
They work,
right? They work very well. And so, like, I'm not saying like
random blurb about that afterwards.
Okay. Crypto itself, though, I haven't seen like a use case where I was like, wow, that's like really nifty.
Yeah.
It's always like, yeah, we opened a restaurant where you can only spend crypto in it. It's like, well, I'm just going to transfer US dollars into Bitcoin and then spend the Bitcoin and have to pay the fee to convert that.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? There's like no reason
for that. Yeah. Whereas that at least seems a step in the right direction.
For sure.
Yeah. Of like, oh, maybe in the future there's going to be some cooler applications of this.
Yeah. I've just not been convinced of any of cryptocurrency besides as a store of value.
Yeah.
I've read some and listened to some information about Bitcoin where I can be convinced that it is a decent store of value as an asset itself.
Yeah.
But theoretically, there needs to be some sort of use case behind the asset. And I haven't necessarily seen that.
But again, video game skins, cosmetics, microtransactions.
So what are your thoughts about crypto and NFTs and blockchain and all that good stuff?
I kind of what I said to you. I mean, it's like, it's fine now, but I'd like to see cooler applications, like in a sci-fi sense, like, thinking about the future. Like, this just kind of, I mean, from the little you've told me from the article, it seems like a cool step in the right direction, making it more accessible for the common people, and having a real purpose. I do agree that, like, there should be an inherent value. Like, some NFTs are just pictures. Like, how this doesn't hold any value. But I'm curious to see where it goes, at least. As far as, like, it being negative, I don't really see it being any more negative than it is now. It's not like NFTs are going to take over the world like AI or something like that. So
Yeah.
it seems okay.
Yeah.
All positives from here. I think I'd be willing to bet.
I really do like the idea of a non-controlled currency
Yeah.
where something like blockchain, or sorry, I keep saying those incorrectly.
Yeah.
Bitcoin, where the creator existed and then walked away.
Yeah, sure.
Right? And now no one controls it except
Nobody
unless,
regulates
you
it.
know. So
Think
that's
about,
kind of
like,
cool.
Sci-fi, they always just have like credits.
Yeah.
They're a universal currency.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It'd be kind of cool in the future, and I could see that happening, that being a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a very, very interesting. I think it's an interesting path we're on with AI and crypto kind of.
You see, I mean, what has it been since the 80s that we like got rid of the gold standard anyway?
78.
It's 1978,
I believe. Someone's going to correct us on that.
Sure, yeah, but so we haven't had our currency, our paper currency right now is just fake anyway. Our bank account is just numbers.
Yeah.
So like crypto is basically that already anyway, but they're just working on ways to improve that, where it's just numbers. But maybe,
but yes and no.
Yeah, because they are actually backed by something. Some of them are. That's what we're saying.
Well, but also there's a limited number of these tokens.
Yes.
That are created, right? They're not.
Bitcoin specifically is one of them.
Yeah, so they're all technically deflationary currency. Well, Bitcoin is deflationary.
Yeah, so maybe Bitcoin is not the future, but I think all the lessons that we've learned, the ideas, can be applied to something in the future. I don't know what yet, but
it'll be interesting.
You buy a cryptocurrency that equates to like an asteroid that we're mining for space minerals or something. I don't know. Yeah.
That's one thing that I think the first person to figure that out,
how to get materials from space, how to make space profitable,
how to capture them, and then just
that's every sci-fi show ever is like there's a profit in space.
Well,
spice must flow.
Or the TV show The Expanse.
Oh yeah, you told me.
Also, that show.
You said you enjoyed
A+.
Yeah.
A+.
The whole season is out now, so you can go and
the whole series is out.
So you can binge the whole series.
Yeah, 7 seasons.
Oh, okay.
10 episodes each.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
6 seasons, maybe. Might be 6.
Wow. Okay.
It's a really good show.
I missed the boat on that.
The first one, the first season, one of the main characters, prior to him being introduced into the main character crew, is an asteroid miner.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, there's 3 colonies. There's the Earth Coalition, which is Earth and Luna, which is the moon.
The moon, cool.
There's colonies on the moon, and Earth is under one central government now as a people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's spaceships and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then there was a big civil war between Earth and Mars.
Okay.
When Mars.
It sounds like an anime. Go on.
No, it kind of is.
You know, I mean, like this sounds exactly like an anime I've watched.
Well, so what happened was Earth colonized the moon, and then colonized Mars, and then also colonized the asteroid belt in between the two.
Yes. Okay. Actually,
no, it's past Mars, right?
Now that you mentioned that, actually, I think I have seen season 1 of The Expanse. But yeah, go on.
Yeah. So there's these 3 coalitions, and originally they were all under the government of the Earth, and then they eventually Mars was like, "F you guys, we're a whole planet now that's like nearly terraformed,
no taxation without representation."
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so they created like
the Mars.
Yep, and they fought a big old bloody war, and now there's these 2 groups that are basically, and then there's a third group that is they're still technically part of the Earth Coalition, but they're so far away that they're not really controlled, and it's the belt, which is the asteroid belt, and there's
belters.
Yeah, the belters.
I remember this. Yep.
And there's all these like stations on the belt, and they are all miners, and because of the low gravity there, they all have like bone density problems. So some of them that are born there are like 10 foot tall and stuff like that, and it's really cool. Yeah, they've developed their own languages and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's cool because it seems like a near future sci-fi where it feels realistic. There's no like aliens or laser technology.
Well, and like all the spaceships run off of like nuclear reactors.
Yeah, so it feels realistic.
Yeah. And they use kinetic weapons. They don't use laser guns. They have bullets and missiles.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the main characters was an asteroid miner, and they would mine asteroids for minerals, as well as they would just mine ice asteroids for water.
For water, yeah. Out in space. That's good.
So anyway,
interesting. I might have to go rewatch that or continue watching that then. I don't remember where or why I left off.
Maybe we should talk about the new TV show on Amazon.
New TV show I've been watching. Invincible.
I was thinking the other one.
The other one on Amazon.
Wheel of Time.
Oh,
we can start with let's start with Invincible.
It should be pretty quick. Have you seen any of season 2 yet?
No, I refuse to watch it until the second part comes out.
Part 1 is out, I believe. 4 episodes. It's okay. It's not as good as season 1 yet. It's fine, but you should probably wait. Yeah. There was a kind of cool fight on the last episode, but like episodes 2 and 3 in the middle, I was just like, what is going on? Seems very irrelevant. Episode 1, like maybe introduced the plot and the conflict for season 2, and then that was irrelevant. And then 2 and 3 they wandered around, and then episode 4 you see Omni-Man again, who disappeared at the end of season 1. And there's actually a pretty cool fight with some other Viltrumites.
Cool.
Which is the super strong aliens that Omni-Man comes from. So episode 4 was fine. But again, you could probably wait till the whole season comes out. So
in April of next year,
sometime next year, yeah. But Invincible, keep it on your radar.
I don't know if you saw the trailer for Fallout.
Yeah, I saw. I didn't see the trailer. I saw pictures. I saw stills.
Yeah,
of what that looks like. That's also Amazon, right?
Yeah,
Amazon, man, you're killing it. They're doing good.
They're doing pretty well.
The one still I saw was the power armor suit of the Brotherhood of Steel, which is the cool like sci-fi faction in Fallout. They just wear these giant suits of armor, and they had the picture I shot was next to like a normal person, and it's like dwarfed. I mean, it's like a Space Marine in Warhammer to give comparison. They're like 9 feet tall in this armor, and he's got the gun he's holding. I recognize in game. I don't know if you remember the picture of the gun. It looks like this ginormous freaking gun. Yeah, it's called the assault rifle in game. And it's huge. And in this giant suit of armor. And I'm like, yeah, that's accurate.
That's hilarious.
It's really cool. So the guns are only going to get bigger and cooler from there.
So did those pictures excite you for the season?
I think so. I think at the very least, the costume design, the set design, whatever that I don't know.
The visuals of the show.
The visuals. I think so far I'm impressed. I think they'll do pretty good with that.
It got me
up in the air on the story, but
sure. Well, it's a new story, so at least they're not going to butcher any of the game stuff, right?
Yeah. So they just need a.
And I think it's a prequel to everything. If I heard,
I don't know about that.
I don't remember.
You told me last time they're doing it just in a different region.
Yeah, that's right.
Has been in a different region, so you don't have to step on the toes of the other games, the other story writers. So that makes sense. That seems easy.
I don't remember. I thought maybe timeline wise they had jumped somewhere.
Could be. So they just need to write a good story. That's all they have to do because it looks like everything else they're doing is fine.
Yeah, we'll see how well Amazon does at writing a story. All their shows look fantastic, but
a lot of them are adaptations of things. So
or continuations in a certain world, like Rings of Power.
Yeah,
is what I'm thinking.
Is an original story.
Yeah, and it was mediocre, but it looked amazing.
It looked good.
I enjoyed that show for the first season.
We don't have to beat that dead horse.
It was okay.
We got to talk about Wheel of Time.
Well, real quick, I wanted to say, for Fallout, it made me very excited for the Warhammer one because of how well they did with the suit. The suit, I was when they announced the Warhammer one, I was thinking like it's gonna be. They gotta really because the aesthetics of Warhammer 40K are so insanely unique that they've really got to make sure they nail that, or else everyone's gonna revolt against it.
Because that's so important to fans of that universe, especially
exactly
Warhammer. I need the 9 foot tall Space Marine.
So that suit of the power suit made me like hopeful that they're going to be able to pull it off well.
Yeah.
Wheel of Time.
Another adaptation.
We talked about this last week. and how disappointed we were in the first season.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Season 2.
you and I have both watched episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
I watched episode 2.
Okay.
Most of episode 2 because I fast forwarded through a bunch of crap because, all right.
I don't care if you spoil here. I don't think anyone else will.
Well, no, I did it on like a little bit on episode 1. I watched episode 1 through most of the way, except for this one part where I was like, they've been talking for 5 minutes. I'm going to fast forward this. And I just skipped forward until...
Scene where they're talking for 5 minutes. The girls at the tower. Yep. Mm-hmm. I know exactly. With the wizard chicks. Yeah, that was boring.
The Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
Episode 2 is worse. I fast forwarded quite a bit of
I was on
dialogue.
like 10 minutes of that before I got bored or busy or something. Had to go do something else. But you can go ham. No holds barred. There's no sanctity of here for Wheel of Time because I'll start off by saying I'm watching episode 1 of season 2 and I'm remembering everything bad about season 1 and I was like, oh yeah, none of this is like the book. They changed so much in season 1 that everything from here on out is irrelevant. They created another timeline.
Oh gosh.
And so I'm watching season 2 and I was just like, oh yeah, this is all irrelevant. Like the whole contrived conflict with Moraine, the Aes Sedai from season 1, the wizard. She doesn't lose her powers in the book, and that's their whole new conflict. Is that like, oh, she's lost her powers, and she's got the guardian dude who's watching her, and he doesn't know what to do because like it's his job to take care of her, but she can't take care of herself. But yeah, no, it's all made up. It doesn't happen in the actual story.
I didn't know that. And that makes sense, though, because that's a stupid plotline right now.
Yes,
They spend way too much time on it.
And it's pointless. The other one, the one boy, like, disappeared or whatever. He doesn't do that for, like, 2 more books. So I don't know if they're just...
The one in jail?
Yeah. Matt, who had the dagger. Yeah, no, he's supposed to be with the other boys right now. I'm pretty sure on the hunt for the horn or whatever. I'm almost positive he's supposed to be there. And so I'm remembering that. I was like, oh yeah, they had him disappear at the end of last season. That's dumb. Because he had some really good interactions with some of the new characters in book 2, but now he's just not there. Some of the desert people. So that's all made up. I don't remember Rand, the main boy, also being gone. So
okay. Unpopular opinion, probably not. He sucks as an actor.
I
oh my gosh, he's like a 2x4.
That's why part of the reason I say I had to force myself through season 1. I was like, I cannot stand any scene he's in as well with the main girl. I think they're both pretty bad.
Which main girl?
Egwene, his
lover.
Yeah,
she's not as bad. I don't find her as bad.
I agree.
At least like she has like, I feel like she's not a crybaby about everything.
Yeah,
she just is a little wiener about the entire situation. Oh my gosh, man! And like, he's just he's very obnoxious to try and watch. The second episode it has quite a bit of him in it.
Okay.
And it's very I fast forwarded through the vast majority of his sections where like you can just like skip 15 seconds. I would skip 15 seconds, watch 3 seconds and be like, yep, still happening. Skip. And there's some dialogue.
Because I looked, Amazon doesn't let you speed it up. You have to watch it with speed.
I could have sworn they would let you.
I was looking for it this week.
Me
you
too.
Mentioned it. It's like, it's got to be here somewhere. Skip through the dialogue.
I'm 90% sure I've done that on Amazon, though.
Maybe they took it out or something.
I know I've done it on Netflix.
Yeah, tons. It's the only way I watch things on Netflix. 2 times speed.
Yeah. But yeah, I was very, very frustrated with.
I don't know how they made season 2. It feels bad to say, but I don't want them to have season 3. Like, just stop. But I think they already are filming a season 3, maybe.
I will say, I also don't love Wolf Boy.
Oh yeah, Perrin.
Yeah, don't love his character.
They're kind of
all the guys in that show except for Matt seem like weenies, and even Matt is kind of like annoying, but like in like a written way, he's like supposed to be the annoying guy.
And also,
but the other 2 are.
Ever since he touched the dagger, this is like semi spoilers for the books. He's not himself for like 3 books. So that's really not his personality anyway.
But like, he's supposed to be the in like, from what I can understand of the story,
like mischievous.
Exactly,
yeah.
right? And that's supposed to be what he is.
Mhm.
And I actually really enjoy his character in the show because he does it well.
Yeah, yeah.
But then you have these other two guys who are like supposed to be like, one of them is literally like a blacksmith, like, who killed his wife. He's supposed to be the dark, moody one, right? That's like supposed to be his character archetype. And then you have the hero archetype with Rand, right? That's what they're supposed to be. Instead, you got these two little puss masters who are just pusillanimous about everything and they just cry about everything the entire time.
Anything, yeah.
Spoiler for episode 2. It's been out for like 3 weeks at this point.
And it's an alternate timeline, so I don't care.
Rand, and it's not even like that big of a spoiler, Rand beat someone up and like didn't even like, he like beat the guy up. Like, he didn't like kill the guy or like anything like that.
Yeah.
And he gets so bent out of shape about him beating this guy up.
Oh, okay.
He's like, he goes to his room and is like crying, and like he has like this weird girlfriend who
made up.
I don't know who it is.
Alternate timeline.
But like he's like, I just need to be alone right now. And then she goes, is like, that's the thing. When we need to be alone, we need to be alone together. And I was like,
woman, I need to be alone.
But I was like,
what?
But he's just being such a weenie about it.
Was it self-defense, or was he like, he went to go beat up a guy?
He went to go beat up a guy. Like, he made the choice to go beat the crap out of this guy.
I guess I don't know why I'd ask, because in either scenario, that's a dumb thing to get like all whiny about.
And like, I think the reason is because he heard the voices like, kill him, and he like,
oh yeah, because he's like
hallucinating or whatever.
Well, yeah, because in the story of the show, he's a male who's using magic, and their source of magic has been corrupted by the big bad evil guy. So anytime males use magic, they go crazy because from the corruption. So it's like, yeah, he thinks.
But he didn't even use magic to beat this guy up.
Oh, okay.
He heard the voices that was like, kill him, and then like the weave stuff was like,
yeah, him.
And then he was like, no, and like ran away, and I was like,
but you wanted to be the guy.
And he's like so bent out of shape about this and so distraught. He's like, I'm so evil. I was like, you beat the guy up on purpose.
Yeah, you made
like,
the choice.
This was not like, oh, I saw the guy and I just beat him up. It was like, no, this was premeditated.
It's not the chaotic evil D&D character who's like, yeah, all right, who can I beat up today? Like,
yeah.
The first guy who looks at me funny. Like, no, like, yeah, you had a reason. You went out to go beat this guy up.
Yeah.
And that's not a normal response. You already made the conscious decision to beat a guy up. You're not gonna be all like, "Oh no, why did I do that?"
It was a very frustrating scene.
It's poorly written.
And then he goes, and this woman or girlfriend or whatever, she's like, "We need to be together." And then they start making out and have sex, and it's like,
this what seems out of place.
Like, what the heck? And I think she's just like a prostitute or something like that. Which
I told you last week, I was maybe semi-tentatively excited for book 2 because it added a couple of some of my favorite characters, but they've just added in this random chick. They're just adding extra stories. I was like, I don't even think they're going to get to the characters that I like.
I will say
that I'd want to see
the opening scene of episode 1 with like the girl and like the council.
Yeah,
that was a pretty cool scene.
I'm trying to remember that one.
Was that episode 2? No, that was episode 1.
Which girl?
The little like kid. And like she goes and meets the big bad evil guy that they released in episode or in season 1.
Yeah, so
I like the council, and they like he's like, you know, I'm not actually evil, and he like pets the ogre or whatever it is,
creepy monster.
And then he's like, here, try it, and like she does it, and he's like, ha ha ha, or whatever.
Yeah. So you get to see what the bad guys are doing behind the scenes. That is pretty cool. Actually.
I actually really like that guy as like the bad guy.
Yeah,
because he actually makes me like him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, it's a good bad guy.
Maybe I'm rooting for the bad guy.
I'm 100% rooting for the bad guy in this show. 100%.
Because I don't like any of the protagonists.
And also, what a sexist book.
Yes, yeah. It was written in the 90s, but I don't know.
Is their portrayal of the sexism in the book like accurate?
Yeah, actually, that's pretty on par. I don't think it was supposed to be like a feminist message or anything. Like, there's no real world politics because their world is totally different.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's just like, yeah, the sexism is like, yeah, women can use magic, men can't, or they die. Sorry.
And if that's the premise, fine. But they make it so funny in this book.
Yeah,
or in the show, they're like,
I think they probably blow it up a little bit.
It's very interesting.
Well, that's the point. Is that like the three boys are the chosen ones or whatever. The one Rand ends up using magic and doesn't go crazy. Spoilers. He's the one who can actually control it. That's his prophecy or whatever.
Because he's the dragon.
Yeah, he's the dragon reborn. And then the other two boys also have their own chosen one arcs. So they end up also being powerful. But even like,
and with our powers combined, we will summon Exodia.
but the other guys in the show, you see that like, well, and the women too. Like you see that the women don't need swords. They don't need physical strength. They've got their magic, and most of them are pretty darn content with that.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. But some of the guys you see, they're also insane. Like even all the wizard chicks, they all have a guy with a sword protecting them.
Yeah,
because sometimes you need both.
Because sometimes magic doesn't work.
Yes, in a quick scenario, because a lot of their magic is about like you have to draw energy from the weave, the earth or whatever.
Yeah.
And that usually takes time. In the book, they always said that like it's kind of hard to do that fast.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need a guy with a sword to be quick.
Dispatch a hand really quickly or whatever. Yeah.
So it was always seen as like a little bit of sexism in the books, but again, it was just their society, totally different.
The gender roles of their societies are different. Yeah.
And it was accepted. Nobody whined about it. Like, oh, I can't use magic because I'm a guy. It's like, no, just like go learn to use a sword.
No, for sure.
Go be cool. Like,
I just thought it was kind of funny, and the show is. I'm actually interested in the arc of what's her name? Not Rand's lover, but the other
Nynaeve.
Chick. Nynaeve, the fighter one who knows how to use a sword really well, but then she's like like uber powerful because Nynaeve is like super powerful.
She doesn't know how to use her magic.
Yeah, but then the red creepy lady is like trying to teach her and stuff like that, and it's like I'm actually interested in that one. So
yeah, that arc is fine. I'd say most of book 2 is kind of boring until the very end for their story. So
the end of episode 2, I will say, the end of episode 2 brought in the big bad evil guy came in again and reared his ugly head.
Okay.
And I'm excited for that. I hope they explore that storyline a little bit more heavily.
I think probably he doesn't do too much in book 2 from what I recall, honestly.
Well, but we know that they're making up the story at this point anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's an alternate timeline. So
he might be important.
Season 3, I think they're already filming or they already planned on it. The one boy that you like, Matt, they actually already changed his actor for season 3. So I forget why, contract issues or something, but he already stepped off the project. Which is hilarious to me. They're just
wait. There's no like. This is so frustrating to me that there are these great actors and actresses out there, and then they just get
bad stories handed to them, bad scripts.
They get bad that, but also like they just get the good actors and actresses get booted off projects.
Oh yeah,
because like he, in my opinion, is a great actor.
Was pretty good at playing that role. Yeah,
he was very good at playing that role, and
at least comparatively.
Compared to Rand and the other dude, Wolf Boy, whatever his name is, I forget his name. Perrin's okay. Perrin's an okay actor.
He's fine.
I don't love the character because like it's the writing really, but his acting is decent enough, right? Mm-hmm. But Rand his acting is like that of a mute 2x4.
A 2x4 would be more interesting as a stand-in.
It would. It really would. A 2x4. Hey, do you remember the show Ed, Edd and Eddy?
Yeah.
You have Plank.
They have Plank. Yeah, that's right.
Plank, his character arc was fantastic, and I think he should be the actor for Rand. For Rand,
in Wheel of Time.
Just
that's unfortunate. Are you gonna hate watch the rest of season 2? Because I don't know if I'm gonna make it through. I hate watched all of season 1.
I hate watched the second half of season 1. Mm-hmm. That's a lie because I hated Rand's character from episode 1.
Maybe the last 7 episodes of 8.
There's 1 or 2 episodes in there that I probably enjoyed.
I'm sure they were
when Rand wasn't in it.
Or as you said, like certain parts of some of the episodes you like, almost like they were written by different people.
Yeah, for real.
So many people on the project. Yes, no, maybe.
Yeah. I wish that when a company like Amazon, who makes good shows in general, for the most part, they do pretty okay, right? And they have huge budget behind all of it, and they pump tons of dollars into it. So, they make good-looking shows, and I just wish that they would have someone who actually cared about the story, write or direct or produce the show.
Totally, yeah.
This is why we're all so excited for the Warhammer show, is because Henry Cavill is not only starring in it, because who doesn't love a little bit of Henry Cavill on screen?
Yeah.
Men and women alike, gay and straight alike.
Doesn't matter.
But he's a Warhammer nerd.
Yeah. So he's going to do it well.
Plays the game. He paints the minis.
He talks about it. He goes on interviews mentioning it.
Yeah.
He's not a closet Warhammer nerd. He's pretty out there.
And so for him to be the one making the show, it's like season 1 and 2 of The Witcher.
Yeah. Where again, same thing. He'd read the books. He played the games. He knew his stuff. And he was perfect to play The Witcher.
And same thing with this. I'm hoping that he is able to just go in and say, this is how this is supposed to be. Yeah. This is how this is going to look.
I understand professionally that's his job isn't to be a creative director, but
maybe it should be
a creative consultant. Definitely highly rate his opinion.
But can you imagine if each of these companies, each of these production houses, when they were taking a book or a section of content and converting it into cinema, got someone like Colin to just consult on every decision. And they would just say, hey, this is our general storyline. What do you think of the storyline? And this is where we want them to start. This is where we want them to end up. And if it's a feasible thing, the creative consultant or whatever can say you know what? That fits with the story. Yep. That's okay. And then they can go in and say, oh, you see how this has this insignia on it? This actually is the incorrect insignia. And then all of us nerds are going to go in and say that's the right insignia. Look at that. It's the right insignia.
That's a good job for your show. Yeah.
Because all of us not nitpick, but most of us care about these IPs so much that when they screw up those little details, you just kind of know that they don't care.
I think it probably comes down to at least one big issue is a failure to understand your target audience. Because for instance, you're right, it would be awesome if you're doing a nerd project, bring in a nerd, see if he's happy, as a creative consultant. But misunderstanding a target audience and not without getting too political, maybe you think you have a target audience, but really it's not, right? There's probably no room for politics in a nerd show.
Unless they're part of the nerd. Dumb. Yeah. Like Warhammer, there's politics in Warhammer. But they're Warhammer politics.
Real world politics. Correct. Probably don't have a place in this show. Keep that, to other shows with a different demographic. Nerds just want to see their cool nerd stuff up on screen. Keep them happy. Because the Marvels, Marvel, every Marvel project lately, I don't even think they know who their target audience anymore. So that's what came to my mind when you were talking about creative consultants and bringing in fans. No. Because anyone who actually likes Marvel comics and superheroes and everything, they would have looked at any project Marvel/Disney's put out in the past 5 years and been like, what are you doing? The MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe in general, really hasn't been great, but some of the things you can be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a good adaptation from the comic book characters or this comic book story. But now, no.
Yeah.
Probably not since Endgame, really. It's all downhill.
Well, and that's originally a lot of the movies were, even if they're not adaptations necessarily of original content, they're progressions of the content, right? It's a new storyline or whatever, a new story arc or whatever. You can make those stories in line with the original source material.
Yeah.
I just feel like when they don't do that, it's like the reason for Thanos' being is so much better in the comics than it is.
So much better.
He's in love with death.
The avatar of
and
death.
He doesn't have some moral goal of
wiping out half of
half
life
of life to
for
like
some reason.
sustain the rest of it.
Yeah, that was pretty dumb.
First of all, what a retard! Excuse my language, but retard for trying that out. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, there's not going to be enough resources for everyone in the universe, so I'm going to kill half of everyone. Why don't we just double the resources,
Yeah.
dingbat?
Why don't you just use everyone's intellectual knowledge to get more resource?
You have the 5 or 6 or whatever.
Oh, dang, we killed all the scientists. We don't know what to do with our resources anymore. So now we actually have a half of what we thought was a half.
Yeah, it
Reduced our efficiency.
was very dumb.
It is dumb. But yeah, in the comics, way better. Way better.
And so, like, that aspect of it, anyway, that was kind of my point. Was
Yeah,
like,
not to beat into Marvel's. That's Marvel company. That's a whole other.
yeah. But if these companies just hired some nerds to just like consult, maybe this is another company we'll start. We'll start a cinema consulting company.
Yeah.
And we'll just go in, and any group that's doing adaptation or anything like that,
Yeah.
we will come in and say, like, you have to, we'll pre-screen it or whatever, and like be on set and just say, like, this is how it has to be, and we'll have a certifiable nerd of that genre
That thing.
on site every single day.
Brief about our topic from last week that I mentioned to you earlier, just not on camera. I'm not a huge Napoleon nerd, and I went and saw the movie, and last week we talked. I thought it was pretty good. It was okay. Like, it was an enjoyable movie, and I still think that. But I've since read a lot of things from Napoleon nerds, and they're like, this movie is terrible. So they think it did not capture the essence, the character, the charisma of Napoleon at all. And even some of the battles, they were like, no, this is historically inaccurate. And I was like, wow, okay. I like history, I like battles, and I like Napoleon, but I was definitely not a nerd of Napoleon. So my enjoyment wasn't necessarily ruined per se. But as far as like their ideal target audience, was not overall happy with the movie.
I will say this: there are some companies and some projects and that have been extremely good for the nerd or the aficionados of that
super
category.
fan.
Yeah. For example, and this is, I think, the best example, is the All Quiet on the Western Front movie from Netflix.
From Netflix 2 years ago or whatever.
No, I think it was this year, wasn't it?
Last year?
I think it was this year.
I don't know. Maybe earlier this year. Yeah.
I thought it was this year. Anyway,
it was pretty good.
It was amazing. For those who don't know, All Quiet on the Western Front is my favorite book.
It's a World War I novel.
World War I novel.
Taken from diary and excerpts from soldiers. A soldier.
And this author fought in World War I and then kind of just made this story about World War I. Anyway.
Yeah.
Great anti-war book.
Anti-war war book.
And the adaptation that Netflix did recently, whenever it was, is probably the best adaptation ever. And they changed the story.
They did, yes.
They changed the story.
How do you change the story of World War One? I know, it's funny. But.
Well, they changed it enough where it was still accurate to what the story was, though.
Yes.
The things, and I don't want to spoil it because it is such a good book that I want everyone, you have to read the book and you have to watch the movie. But the ending especially was changed. But in a way that made sense with the book. It wasn't like they were rewriting the story.
No.
They were just like, instead of this happening, let's make it a little bit different. And that is completely fine.
They didn't ruin anything.
They didn't ruin the story. They didn't ruin the story at all. It changes the impact of the message a tad bit.
Yeah.
But and the timeline of the story is a little bit, in the movie, is a little bit different, which is the way they do it was 100,000% perfect for that movie adaptation.
You, as an aficionado of All Quiet on the Western Front, was thoroughly pleased.
If you can't tell, I loved the movie. I love the book and I love the movie,
and that makes it great for you and still enjoyable for those not as well versed in the subject matter.
Exactly,
it's still good. Whereas, like me with Napoleon, is like I thought it was good, but big fans of Napoleon were not, and so you want both. You want to capture both, make everybody happy. And
if you make the nerds for the aficionados, the nerds for that subject, like the movie or the show or whatever the content,
it'll Probably be good enough to get the
Everyone else would like it too.
the average population, the average person.
As long as you're not like going deep into the lore of something that has like 14,000 years of backstory that you have to know.
Yeah. It's and our movie is 3 years of Senate hearings from Napoleon's perspective.
Exactly. It's like
this is just C-SPAN.
more interesting C-SPAN.
More
probably.
interesting because there's guillotines involved.
Yeah. Maybe we should bring that back.
Just like down on the Senate floor, they're like, I disagree with you, Senator. All right, get the guillotine in here.
Well, we should have duelings again.
Break out the pistols.
Break out the muskets.
Oh, yeah.
And just
walk 10 paces.
Walk 10 paces and turn around and fire. And whoever wins, that wins the argument.
Like, oh, yes, I concur. Yes,
I think we'd have a lot less socialism. Not a political podcast.
Not a political podcast. Hot take. You'd probably have much different candidates for political offices. If that were the case, you would choose the most physically fit, probably the best aims. So you would have different criteria instead of just like, well, this 80-year-old guy's been in there for decades, so I guess he's good at the job. Like, no, he's not going to quick draw fast enough. He's going to lose every argument.
And if he is 80 years old and is able to still beat those, hey, he probably is okay.
I'll vote him back in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe we should bring back duels.
It would be kind of interesting. A random tangent related story, though, about like the human human interaction, human psyche in Fallout, bringing it back around. Long story short, they had all these vaults before the bombs dropped in their universe, which were all designed as a little mini science experiments. So that,
yep, you're good.
Okay, a little mini science experiments for when the bombs dropped. They were all going to do something to help improve society or whatever. So like the one in Fallout 4 is it's cryosleep. So that's why your character wakes up 200 years after the bombs dropped. And so you can go explore all the other vaults and find out their little science experiments, which are kind of cool. And every vault has the leadership was similar. The tree of I can't think of the word.
The organizational
structure. Thank you. You always had an overseer that you voted in, basically. It's like a president once a year. And one of them that you're going and exploring afterwards is through reading or you get audio logs sometimes. You find out that in kind of a George Washington type way, the overseer of this vault at the end of the year, he had to go into like a secret room of the vault and then just like disappear. Like nobody ever heard from him again. It only unlocked once a year and only for the overseer. And so it was actually, they needed to put one person in there once a year, but the first overseer did it. So that set the precedent, like George Washington. He's like, I'm just going to step down. And so every year, for the next couple elections, the overseer was like, yeah, that's a good precedent. Like, I'll also step down and go into this mystery box that nobody comes out of ever. So presumably they just die. Well, it turned into, as you're reading more of the history and the logs, the human social experiment, they started electing bad people that they wanted to kill. You saw like campaign posters all around the underground bunker of just like, vote for this guy, he sucks. Like, don't vote for this guy, he's got a wife and kids. Like, and so
interesting.
Yeah, they wanted to vote for their worst candidate, but then they had that candidate as overseer for a year. And so they're obviously the whole vault just collapsed. You find it went crazy. They started just open civil war basically when it got down to so few people, and it was bonkers. And then the last like 5 people left or whatever, they were like, you know what? Screw the rules. We're just we're not going to sacrifice one person to the mystery locked box at the end of the year. We're all going to go in together or something. And all 5 of them, go in and you find the skeletons, you find the corpses after. But it was like one robot shows up with a gun and kills you or whatever. Whereas like if they'd had hundreds of people at the start, if they'd just chosen to not do that, they could have stopped one robot with a gun because they all had guns. But it was really interesting that was the experiment for their vault. Was whoever created the vaults in that world was like the psychic experiment. What are they going to do? What you tell them? And then it created like so much interesting fallout from that.
That was a good pun.
Yeah, thanks. So that's why that sparked my memory of like the political candidates Like your criteria totally changed.
Yeah, I wonder.
I wonder.
I don't know how to. I pretend to know a lot of things, but that's one thing I don't pretend to know is
Know anything?
how to fix the country.
Yeah. I don't know the criteria. The perfect candidate. So
Yeah, I don't think anyone that's running for president is ever going to be the perfect candidate.
no,
But-
probably not.
Did you want to do your?
Yeah, my brief video game recap, or do you want to talk about Christmas? Get some God in here.
Get some God.
Yeah,
Well, it's Christmas time.
it's Christmas time.
Christmas.
Let's get some Jesus in our lives.
Christmas.
So
Mariah Carey has risen from the grave once again.
yes, every year on
And, I saw a really, really funny TikTok video from the Black Rifle Coffee guys,
oh yeah.
and they were they were sitting around the Thanksgiving table, and they were like, "Oh, this year has been such a great Thanksgiving." And then one of them pulls up like a red like cloak and hood, and he says, "It is time." And they're like,
What?
"Do we have to? Do we have to? The sacrifice must be made." And like it's like this like cultish thing, and at first you don't know what's going on, right?
Yeah, you're like, what is this?
And
skit?
you're like, what the heck is? And they go and they draw a pentagram out of whipped cream
from the pumpkin pie or whatever. Yeah.
They have like the whipped cream, like they have like they make their the sacrificial chalice or whatever that is like filled with blood or whatever. It's hot cocoa, and he stirs it with a candy cane, and he's like, an offering of the bringer of cheer, and like drinks the cup,
oh my
and like sets it in the center, and they start singing like a Christmas song,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden it's it sings, and then one of them like pretends to be Mariah Carey,
Nice.
and is like sitting there in the middle of the circle. It's like it was very funny.
Wow, pretty good. Every year
She comes back. She exits her cave of anyway.
Comes back to relevancy. So good icebreaker for our next topic. Christmas traditions. You and I we both enjoy Christmas. Both the we celebrate the Christian aspect and the commercial aspect. All enjoyers of all things Christmas.
Yeah.
And an interesting topic. We've both been out of the country, so I thought it'd be kind of cool to hear from you. I don't remember if you've actually told me ever. You Christmas traditions from outside the U.S.
Yeah, so I spent 2 years in the African country of Mozambique, which no one knows where it is, but it is on the eastern coast of southern Africa.
It's north of South Africa.
It is north of South Africa. It's directly west of Madagascar, for those of you who know your African geography.
What is that channel called? Did they have a cool name?
In the Mozambique Channel.
Oh, nice. Wow, you'd think they'd be more popular then.
Yeah, literally the ocean in between Madagascar and Mozambique is called the Mozambique Channel.
The Mozambique Channel. Yeah. All right.
Anyway, I spent 2 years in Mozambique, preaching the good word, as it were.
And Christmas is an awesome time because everybody wants to talk about.
Everyone wants to talk about God.
It's so cool.
And so Southern Hemisphere. So Christmas is not cold.
Yeah.
It's hotter than nuts, and
which is weird.
It takes a minute to get used to.
Because
That is
all
for
the
sure.
Christmas is like, yeah, snow, reindeers, or whatever. Yeah.
Not in
Not in the Southern Hemisphere.
not in the Southern Hemisphere. But like Trevor and I were trying to figure out
What Christmas traditions?
what Christmas
they have.
traditions, because you also spent 2 years in Argentina.
Argentina, also Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah. And I was trying to remember if there was anything like specific that was like, oh yeah, Christmas, like Mozambican Christmas. And it's not like American Christmas. There's no Christmas tree.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they might do something similar to a Christmas tree because of Western influence.
The commercial aspect of it, yeah.
But, very few pine trees in Mozambique
That makes sense.
to harvest and, have as a Christmas tree. Some of the white Portuguese that are still there, or like the mulatto Portuguese, will have like a fake Christmas tree, because they do sell fake Christmas trees in some of the more Western stores.
International
Yeah.
stores, yeah.
Also found a turkey in one.
Whoa,
Yeah, that was strange.
that's pretty
It
strange.
was a very expensive turkey.
Yeah, I bet.
But
Speaking of, like, yeah, what food? What is it? Do they have a tradition?
so yeah, they do have like a Christmas meal.
Mhm.
It's usually just your whole family will get
Yeah.
together. You'll all go to usually the paternal parents, oldest relative,
Oh,
right?
okay, yeah.
And all the generations will get together there.
Mhm.
And everyone underneath that person's tree
The
will,
whole family tree
Yep.
comes together. It's cool.
and depending on location, sometimes they've moved and you can't do that necessarily, but they try to.
Hmm.
And then they'll just have a big old gathering of food, and it'll be a lot of rice. This stuff called shima, which is a corn flour that's been made into it looks like mashed potatoes, but it's a starch, so it's like it's a staple food,
Okay,
right? Like
yeah.
rice would be, but it's made out of a corn flour instead of rice. I actually quite like shima. In South Africa and Swaziland, they call it pop. And it's made a little bit differently, so this does not need to be an explanation. Pop is a little bit drier than shima is. Shima is a little bit more malleable. They cook with more water. Anyway, they do. Mozambique eats a lot of greens,
Okay.
but strange greens. It's not just like, oh, here's some broccoli on
Here's
the
some
side.
salad.
Oh yeah, no. They do pumpkin leaves,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
black bean leaves.
Interesting. Not like spinach.
Nope.
Leaves, which-
They'll do yucca root leaves.
Oh, okay.
So yucca is also called mandioc,
Mhm.
mandioca, and they'll take the leaves of that plant and make something called matapa.
It's kind of interesting.
And matapa is really good because they'll mix it with crab and shrimp.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
So it looks disgusting.
Yeah. I wonder, is it like you mix it up as like a dip for the crab and the shrimp, or you just throw it in there?
No, the crab and the shrimp are cooked with it.
Yeah. Okay.
So
okay.
they take the crab and shrimp and shell them and stuff like that, and then just chop them up and
Doesn't sound half bad.
throw them in there. It looks disgusting.
It sounds like that could be like a stir fry or whatever. I mean,
No, it's very liquidy
oh, okay.
because the leaves are ground up
Mm-hmm.
and liquefied
Just have
effectively.
a lot of water in them too, I bet.
They do, and then you just sit there and cook them. They'll throw garlic and onion in there, peanut powder, because that is a main spice in Mozambique is peanut
Yeah.
powder.
Yeah.
It's not sweetened or anything like that. It's just the peanuts have been ground into it
up.
and cooked as a powder so that they're dry.
Yeah.
They're not mushy like a peanut butter would be. They're it's a powder anyway.
Yeah.
And you'll serve that with rice or with shima, and usually that's served with rice because it is so liquidy.
Mhm.
They have other green dishes that are just different leaves, very similarly cooked.
Wow. Sounds like a pretty healthy Christmas feast.
It is. They'll do
Lots of greens.
depending on the region of Mozambique you're in. If you're in the north, they won't do as much pork because there's a lot of Muslims in the north.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But in the south, they do pork, beef, a lot of beef, tons of chicken.
Yeah. The whole country is good.
There's one of the most famous dishes in Mozambique is called frango zambesiano, which is Zambesian chicken. One of the regions of Mozambique is called Zambezia.
Okay.
And this recipe kind of obviously originated from there, and it involves marinating the chicken in coconut milk and garlic, and then chilies,
Man.
and then
They marinate their meat before they eat. Wow, that's amazing.
they do.
Wow.
Oh, in this recipe.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, they'll you'll buy a chicken from the store and kill it and then defeather it and stuff like that, and then you'll put it in a bathtub with probably multiple other chickens, and then pour the coconut milk and the garlic and the peppers into this bucket, basically.
Stir it up.
No, they just let it sit there. To be honest, they let it sit there until it's ready to like an hour before eating.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll prep that like the night before or the morning
throw
of,
it in there.
just because it can sit there all day. Right? They'll cover it with a cloth so flies don't get on it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll take those out and they'll begin to grill it on a grill.
Yeah.
And then they'll baste it with that stuff. And
That's cool.
It's very good. And
Nice.
that chicken is very good.
That's sweet, man.
Yeah, but it's such a poor country that's really the only, like, they just go as much food as they can, and then whatever gifts that they can, you know, and open air meat markets. So nothing like most people aren't going to the supermarket to go get their prepackaged food.
Right.
You go.
We get the big Christmas ham.
No, there's no Christmas ham. It's all fresh pork. It's all fresh beef.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're in like a more affluent area, there might be a butcher shop.
Sure.
Not like where you just go and like, hey, I would like meat, and they
butcher it for you.
Yeah. Short story on New Year's. They celebrate New Year's much more than they celebrate Christmas.
Okay.
It's much more of an affair. They go drinking a lot on New Year. New Year's is a party. Christmas is like a family gathering. New Year's is a party.
All right.
But
probably not so different around the world, I reckon.
Yeah, New Year's they go all out because Mozambique is in a civil war and has been since like the 70s.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of like ammunition just all over the place. So on New Year's they were like they just started like launching airburst mortars into the air.
Fun. Fireworks.
As fire. That's what they use them for. So like we were sitting on the beach on New Year's. That's like where most of the fireworks are at. It's like on the beach. And all of a sudden we just hear boom, and we're like, what the like we could feel it, and it was far away, but we could feel it, and we're like, what the heck? Then all of a sudden just boom, right in like in the atmosphere. We're like, what the and it was just like this loud. It wasn't like a bah!
Like, the rebels are attacking.
We were like, what the freak? And then it happened like 3 more times, and we're like,
that's wild.
What the heck is this, man? And we asked one of the locals, like, what is that? We're like, oh, that's just like a firework. We're like, that's not a firework. Like, well, it's like a military firework.
So a mortar.
So it's a rocket. He's like, yeah, effectively.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, that's chill.
Oh yeah, just shoot an RPG up in the air.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what the heck,
man? That's pretty wild. But you said at the start, you're like, I don't really know much, but you kind of went off. I think it was coming back to you.
Yeah, it's been 6 years since I was there. 7 years. 7 years.
Because I'm trying to think, maybe it'll come back to me. Argentina Christmas traditions, similar to you. I mean, they got the commercial aspect, but Christmas trees, not really. Christmas season, yeah, people enjoy that. It's generally a Christian nation, so it's cool. Again, you know, gifts, not so much. People are relatively poor there, but kind of similar sentiment. It's family day, Christmas day, come together, and their big thing there, kind of leading up to the whole Christmas season, I enjoyed a pan dulce. It's just sweet bread, but it's like fruit cake, I think, is kind of what we have here. Is like the meme. Nobody wants fruit cake. Nobody likes it. But in Argentina, let me tell you, their pan dulce, it's pretty good. It's this shell. It's made in like a big, looks like a Jello container shape. That's just what
a bundt pan.
A bundt pan. Thank you. So you get these like big rolls of sweet bread, and they'll throw in all sorts of things, all the dried fruit and the chocolate chips or whatever. And I had them homemade. I had them from the stores. Like they were all delicious. And that whole like month of Christmas, love that. And then Christmas dinner is usually again, not everybody because of the price, but traditionally it is kind of a lamb. Is actually
very cool.
And so that is the first and I think the only time I had lamb, which probably ruined my experience because that particular lamb I don't think was well made, unfortunately. But it was cool at least. Oh, that's different. Again, no turkeys or Christmas hams, none of that, but lamb. And get together, gifts. The one cool thing I really enjoyed, tradition wise, I don't know if it's just because I was in a small town or this is something they do everywhere in Argentina, but in this small town I was in, the firefighters on Christmas Day, the local firefighters just like drove around. They had, I want to say they had somebody just saying had all the Christmas lights decked out on their fire truck.
Oh, very
drove
cool.
through the neighborhood slowly, and they were just like throwing out candy to the kids.
Very cool.
So that was like, their gift giving, their way to like give back to people, spread Christmas cheer. Was like, hey kids, even if you're poor, maybe you didn't get a whole lot of Christmas gifts, presents, or whatever. Like, we'll give you some candy. So it was cool. All the kids were coming out and super excited to see. And I enjoyed seeing that.
Oh, one thing that I did forget about that one of the main traditions is that the family. So it's kind of difficult to explain, but it reminded me of your firefighters. Reminded me of this. Is the families will each go and they will all get the Mozambicans regularly wear, and I'll have to bring some to like the podcast or like just show you sometime. Called capulana, and capulana is this very colorful, vibrant cloth that it's like a
sash or a belt or something.
Well, no, they wear it as like clothing. So like the men will like wrap it around their waist, women will like tie it around their neck and tie it, and it'll just be like draped over them basically. And they'll wear that, or they'll just wear that as like a skirt and then like a t-shirt on top or whatever.
Is that like on Christmas Day or just like that?
Always.
Okay.
But what they do is these families will get together and they'll all buy the same pattern one, and it's brand new, so it's super vibrant.
Yeah.
They'll all wear those like for the next week
as
like a So the Sunday after Christmas is always really cool because all these families will have these brand new bright capulanas.
Yeah.
And the women will have they'll wear it as a dress, and it really is just a piece of cloth that they tie in a very specific way.
Yeah.
That
it's got the bright patterns.
And then like usually a white t-shirt or something over that, and then they'll have the same pattern but as like a hair covering like a little bonnet or so. And they'll do that, and it's they do that for weddings as well. But like the bridal party will all have the same capulana.
Cool.
The men will all wear a suit with a shirt of the capulana or a tie of the capulana.
Nice.
And so
that's awesome. Yeah. Cool Christmas tradition.
That's the main one where it's like every single year there was like new capulana all over the place.
Sweet.
And then the missionaries also started to do that as well. So I have a bunch of capulanas that I have that are all still vibrant because I didn't wear them daily.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I'll have to show you guys. Nice. I'll have to bring them sometime. I don't even know where they are. Anyway,
there you go. It's Christmas season.
It's Christmas. Merry Christmas. Don't forget that Christ is the center of Christmas. There's my message.
It was supposed to be our God section, but we ended up talking about food. Sorry.
Well, that is one of the other G's. So
also true.
Yeah, but God is important. Jesus is important. Anyway,
'tis the season.
'Tis the season to be jolly. Fa la 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 la.
La 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 la.
And that's the end of the
calling it there.
Very good, very good, very good.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of the 5G podcast. We hope you enjoyed.
As always, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this content.
We're available on all social medias, as well as you can watch or listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts.
Again, thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next week.
Thanks.